Hey there, my name is Jessub Flower. I am a screenwriter, educator, and all around learning, training, and development nut. And welcome to the My Favorite Teacher podcast.
Oh, my favorite teacher makes the rocking world go round.
That's right. Thank you so much again for joining us for the My Favorite Teacher podcast. Thanks for coming back. Hopefully, you've been able to see some of our episodes that we have, and you're excited about this one. I know I am excited about this one. I've got one of those guests that is near and dear to my heart because I've known him for quite some time. We'll probably talk about it a little bit. My guest today is a project manager and really head of voice of customer for an enormous wholesale construction industry supplier. He is a husband and a father to a wonderfully cool family that has migrated to Austin, Texas. And from the look of his Instagram, he is quite an accomplished barbecue chef, and he's just an all-around fun and cool guy. You're going to love him. Please welcome to the podcast, Jason Schafer. Jason, welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jess. I appreciate that. So cool.
So you, my friend, are already sporting the color that we are both affinity of. So we knew each other in Oregon, right? We knew each
Yes.
other when
Yeah.
we lived in Oregon, and we were
did.
both, when you're in Oregon, and especially in the Eugene kind of area, you're just kind of a Duck fan. That's just the way it is. So Oregon
You
Ducks,
are.
and you're an
Yes.
alumni.
Yes, absolutely. So
Okay, so
hard to
tell me,
believe.
I know we're jumping into school right off the bat, but I want to know, what did you study there and everything like that?
I studied business. My focus was marketing with a little, they have kind of a sub um, topic, sports marketing. And
Yeah,
so
okay.
based out of that, I envisioned myself potentially working in the sports industry. And I mean, I'm sure you'll ask about it, but yeah, it's interesting how life happens, and certainly um, going the sports marketing route. Sports was always something central when I was a child, and you can see my affinity for the Ducks in the background behind me. I've I've got the pom pom underneath the hat back there, but yes, and so I
And
do
for
get
those that are
weird looks.
listening, yeah,
Yeah.
for those that are listening who have never really got a chance to maybe see a game at Autzen Stadium,
Yes.
it's truly incredible. I mean, it is this really great stadium. It was built by Uncle Phil and all that kind of stuff, and the Ducks
Yes.
always have just like the coolest uniforms and everything like that. But they're also a fun team to watch. And the one thing I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but when everybody hits that timber of the O, everybody goes, oh, and it's like it hurts. It hurts your head
Yes.
because it's so
Yeah.
loud at that stadium.
Yeah. I actually had not experienced that for a number of years. And I was just back in Oregon recently and went to the Oregon Wisconsin game.
You got it. Oh, very
And
cool.
so I got to go when I was back. And yeah, I hadn't experienced exactly what you're pointing out, the depth of how loud it gets. And I will say this, atmospheric rivers were rained where they claim that it never rains in Autzen.
It never
Well,
rains at Autzen Stadium. We would always say that together.
Don Essig is a liar. It rained the whole game.
Did you guys just
And
get dumped on?
yeah, my best friend and I, we walked out of the stadium and we were just soaked. But yeah, it was a blast. It was so
Every
worth it.
time somebody finds out that I was from Oregon at some point, they're just like, oh my gosh, it's so pretty up there. It's like, yeah, it is. It's beautiful up there. It's green all the time, but it's because it rains all the time.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but my birthday was always in summer, and even in summer you could never plan on like an outdoor birthday party just because it was probably going to rain.
Yeah. So mine's in September. So kind of the tail end of summer, especially in Oregon.
Yeah.
And yeah, you could never guarantee that
No.
it would be nice enough to be outdoors. Now, here, you're in the second part of third summer. And so,
Yeah.
you ever felt like what it feels like to be on the surface of the sun? I think we may come close to it here. So,
Now, when did you move to Austin, Texas?
we moved at the beginning of 2018.
Okay.
We're coming up on 8 years. Yeah, it would have been March of 2018. And sight unseen, I did move with a job, so
Yeah.
that was a good thing.
Yeah.
But we really, I mean, I was interested in just a new adventure. I wanted to experience something that I didn't really have a chance to in Oregon.
Right.
and opened my eyes to a bigger world than existed to where I grew up. So
That's cool.
it's definitely been for the best for all of
Now,
us.
did other family move with you? Do you have, is it just like your kind of nuclear family that went, or are there other family members that went as well?
Yes, so our family did, and then a few years before that, my wife's brother and his family moved.
Nice.
And their thing is about Austin, it's a big area. And so
Yeah.
they are at the south end of Austin. We are at the far north end. We're in Round Rock. And so it's about, without traffic, 45, 50-minute drive. With traffic, well north of an hour.
That's
So
not
we do,
too bad though, just to be
it's,
that close to family and stuff.
yeah,
That's
we
cool.
considering their kids are much older and all adults now, we don't get to see them much. But yeah, that was the initial kind of draw as well as being close to at least one portion of family.
That's great. Now, the barbecue, okay? Because I'm telling you, if anybody, and we'll get to plugs and social medias at the end, so
Okay,
you can find. You have to check out some of this barbecue because what you're making looks delicious. Did that
thanks.
start because you went to kind of like barbecue capital of the world, or had you already started that back up in Oregon?
I mean, I wasn't really able to. That's a great question. I wasn't able to start it in Oregon because I was still cooking on charcoal. And that is one of the hardest
it's
types of grill to cook on. It's just hard.
it's so hard.
Plus, if you're going to do anything smoke related, you really have to build your fire offset. You can't
Yeah.
have it directly underneath.
Yep.
So yeah, it did. The journey did start once I hit Texas.
Okay.
I had come down. I think we had both come down for a visit prior, and I don't know. We went to a couple joints. Matt, my brother-in-law,
Sure.
took us out, and I just fell in love with it. I'm like, what in the world? Like, you don't taste anything like that back in
No,
Oregon.
it's so good.
And and then it started pretty simple. I mean, trying to cook a chicken, um, and then going on from there. I think my favorite thing to cook and is most popular, especially with the kids, would probably be the pork butt,
Oh yeah.
which in Texas is not the most popular. Texas beef
Really?
is king here. Yeah. So your brisket, your beef ribs are your two most popular things. Then you get into
Tri-tips.
other, like sausage,
Oh,
is the other
yeah,
thing that they
that'd
really
be good.
love down
Now, are
here.
you primarily smoking, Jason? Or are
Y-
you
yes.
okay?
Yeah, I'd say a good 70, 80% of what I cook is smoke. And then you'll have the occasional, like if we do burgers or something, I typically don't smoke those.
No,
Um,
no, no,
be-
of course not. Now, when you're smoking, okay, this is turning
Hmm?
into quickly a barbecue podcast as we
Yep, it is.
get into this. What is the one of the most important things that you have to remember when you're preparing to smoke, like especially a big expensive piece of meat?
Biggest thing is patience. You can't force a large piece of meat to cook fast and still taste good. I
It's
learned that very early on. My first brisket, it was definitely hot garbage. It did not turn out great. Everybody gave me the like,
oh, this is
just
good. This is
oh, this is so
good.
good. I'm like,
No,
you're lying. Yeah, you're not
you
telling.
know, as the chef too, you know.
Exactly. I could tell that they were just kind of playing me a little bit there, but that's fine. But over time, that's the biggest thing that I've probably taken away is understanding you have a 12 or 13 pound brisket
Yeah,
that will take, depending on the
hours.
temp, that's going to take 12 hours. It's
Hours,
minimum.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still not comfortable with the whole thing of like, putting it in at, I don't know, 3 o'clock in the morning and then
Yeah.
going back to bed. Like, I don't feel comfortable with that yet. I know people do it and you can and it's safe, but man, I just am like, no, I'm gonna just
Yeah.
sit there with it, I guess.
I think what's helped me is the fact that I do have a Traeger, and so it takes a little bit of the fire aspect out of it. For people that are on true stick burning
Oh,
smokers, my boss actually, who lives here in Round Rock,
okay.
has one. He ended up, I convinced him to buy a Traeger because of that. He
Wow.
said, "No, I think I'm fine." I'm like, "Well, the first time you want to put something on and it's like 10:30 and you're gonna have to wake up in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
like, do you really want to worry about
With a
your fire
fire, with
being?"
an unattended fire
Yeah, no.
right next to your house.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you don't
Oh,
want
that's
that.
awesome. But it's tough
Yeah.
to get rid of those traditions too, because that's probably the way he was taught how to do it and all that kind of stuff
Yes.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it
So
was
your
for
boss,
sure.
he's the boss of this kind of a larger wholesale construction industry. When you went down there, right? Were you doing primarily sales for them, or were you
Yes.
doing like okay,
Yeah, so I was in sales when we moved down to Austin, and I worked on that sales team for just about a year when an opportunity that I didn't ever envision. I was kind of at a crossroads with the company and seeing that maybe I was limited in where I could go and what I could do. I knew that I still wanted to work for the company because it's a great company to work for. And the opportunity with the customer insights, customer experience team came up. And from day one, I just hit the ground running, threw myself into learning. I
hmm,
think that was the biggest thing for me is connecting the dots with what I learned on the sales side of the organization to how does that impact what I do now and vice versa? Like, what can I use what I learned to help
right?
people out in the field leverage the data in the feedback that we receive? So I think that's one of the main motivators and things that I really, really enjoy about the job I do now.
Well, and that is to be voice of customer. I mean, for those people that may not know what that is, what
Yeah.
is that?
Voice of customer in most organizations, especially one as large as ours, is
And we can
your
even say it.
primary.
Do you mind saying the name of the company?
Yeah, it's Ferguson Enterprises.
Ferguson.
Yeah, largest wholesale plumbing company in the United States. Um, Locations all across the country. And so, voice of customer is receiving feedback through our platform. We use a platform called Medallia. They're a well known company that does feedback platforms. And it does everything from captures key metrics that we like to measure across the customer journey to open ended commentary and categorizing and helping us get down to the nitty gritty of what the customers say about their experiences to so we can then turn and say, hey, here are the couple things that stand out for this group.
Right.
And it's really fun to me because you get to talk to all levels of the company
Sure.
and really get to tell the story. Like, these are what our customers are actually saying to us. Sometimes you have to be as direct and straightforward with the feedback as possible. You
Yeah.
can't really pretend and hide behind something and also not be afraid of being the messenger relaying the message. I think that's the thing that I've learned in the number of years, over 6 years now, so almost 7 years since
Wow.
I joined the team. So
Now, with that, I mean, you kind of are in a situation where you kind of even have to ask for a larger wholesale. Your customer is primarily like the contractor, isn't it?
hmm yeah,
Yeah.
most of the customers we deal with will be the contractor, direct B2B sort of space. We do play in the B2C, so we do sell direct to consumers as well. So
Yeah.
for those
Well, there's
customers,
stores. I remember going into
yeah,
Ferguson stores,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I still remember it's kind of an industrial area the Ferguson in Eugene is in,
Hmm.
yet it still has a very nice like showroom at one end of it where you walk in, you're like, I see these plumbing parts, and then I see like these full kitchens in the other
Right.
side. So,
Right.
yep.
Do you have any of those cool, like, high-tech toilets or anything like that yet?
I mean, I don't personally, because one of those with the 5-year-old,
Oh, yeah, that's probably not a good idea.
I don't know if that would go over well
Fountains!
with him. Yeah, it would be pretty funny, but
But if you're, I mean, just to go back on that and camp on it for a second, if you're, it's a different way of thinking about even sales and stuff like that, and even how companies work, because most people are thinking, how do I sell the most value to the customer and all that kind of stuff. As far as the direct to consumer, and then, but in yours, you have to think, how can I help make these contractors money, but still provide a good enough product that's not going to make Ferguson or the company look bad because it'll last a long time and all that kind of stuff. So it's probably a whole different kind of animal that you're dealing with.
for sure, I think that's the unique aspect, especially when we're looking at feedback and how
Yeah.
it differs from the consumer side to the business side. Because
Yeah.
you're right, as a B2B side, you definitely have to see yourself as an extension. I remember this as a salesperson, as an extension of that customer's business. And if you don't do that, you oftentimes get into situations where maybe you have somebody that really doesn't care, they just want to get something to the finish line,
Right.
and customers can pick up on that. So I think you're pointing out a very good and a valid point about the differences between selling to business customers and being kind of that extension of business versus the consumer. Very,
And it's
very different
funny, and
spaces.
the reason why I was excited to have you on the podcast too, and just even stuff like this, because to be honest, there's probably a few people that are listening that's like, well, this is a different type of guest than we've heard before. Because a
Yeah,
lot of my connections are, they're actors or they're in the entertainment industry
for
and everything like
sure.
that. But I truly do want the voice of as many different type of people out
Mm.
there as possible, because of the fact that what we're here for is to talk about how you got here. So when you're doing this stuff, I mean, we touched on it briefly too early in the beginning, my fault. As
No.
far as you thought maybe you were going to be doing sports medicine, but when you were in school, besides some of that stuff, what did you think you were going to be doing when you were like in school and studying and stuff?
I mean, from the youngest age, the thing that resonated the most with me was sports broadcasting, actually.
Oh, come on, that's awesome.
That was the thing that resonated the most from a very young age. I was that child that would memorize statistics and memorize. I mean, I think my parents, my mom anyway, has a story of me memorizing the NFL teams by helmet by the age of
Wow.
3. And
What?
I mean, yeah, by the age of 3, and I would recite them. And yeah, so that was what I
That's amazing.
envisioned myself doing from a very young age. That, I mean, definitely changed over time.
Sure.
Not that I haven't ever completely let go of it,
Come
but
on, you never know. One thing I would love to see is a very young Jason Schafer muting the television during a football game and just doing his
yes,
own commentary, basically, right?
yes. And also turning into my mom and brother telling me to go in the other room to do that.
Get
Yes.
out of here.
Yeah, they're like,
That's
go in
amazing.
the other room. But yes, yeah, there's a lot
Well,
of
so
that.
it sounds like school. I mean, that's fascinating. And then going into kind of more of the sports, kind of industry and thinking that's what you were going to graduate with. Then what was the change? Well, I mean, what was the reason for, shifting out? Did you never find the opportunity that you were hoping for?
I
Did you
mean,
find that the doors were difficult to get into? What did that look like?
actually, one and both of those. So I did get an opportunity straight out of college. I interned actually with the baseball team in Eugene for
Okay.
the summer out of
The
college.
M's.
Yeah,
Was it
the
the M
Eugene
still?
M's. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So I interned with them for that summer. That barely paid anything. Straight out of college, really had to go find a job. The general manager of that organization paid for my way back to the winter meetings for baseball, which would have been in Nashville that winter. And I actually had a job just for part of a season with the team up in Yakima, up in Washington,
Okay.
in sales, but found really quickly that there wasn't a lot of money in it.
Hmm.
So making ends meet, I remember refereeing basketball games for middle schools
Wow.
and in the spring mowing lawns.
Yeah.
And so realizing that it wasn't going to be simple. And then you're right, the second part of it you kind of pointed to is there are a lot of barriers. Like if you don't know people,
Mm-hmm.
it's much like the industry you're in. Like if you don't know someone that has a connection, it's a really tough ball game because
It
everybody
is
wants to
really
get
difficult.
into it.
That's very true. And I mean, just to be ubiquitous with it, that's the same with just about every industry that's out there
Yeah,
too. Of course,
for
you
sure.
can go through and you can apply and you can do all that kind of stuff, but it's really one of those things where, some of the good education stuff when you've got teachers that care about you really help you to set up and kind of open a path for you, which in turn kind of makes us a natural changeover to as you were in school. I mean, Jason, you are a listener of the podcast. You've heard it before. You know the question I'm going to ask you. When you were kind of in school, did you have somebody that was kind of like a favorite teacher for you, or multiple that really helped you kind of instill with some of these things that you learned?
Yeah, it's interesting when I was thinking about that and when I've seen the episodes. There were, for me, it's funny, there were 3, and they all came at different parts of my school and upbringing. The first one is my middle school science teacher, Mr. Ellickson. And what he encouraged in me was a curiosity. Always be curious about what's going on around you, which I think fits for a science teacher.
Very much.
And it's it's ironic because he ended up teaching my brother in high school after, because my brother's younger than I am.
Yeah.
And so I remember seeing him at my brother's graduation and just shortly catching up with him. But yeah, I guess he probably never got to hear that he made such a good impact on my life at that point.
Okay.
I was also still an adolescent, so probably a
Sure.
little like pushing
We
buttons.
didn't want to tell them back then, I don't think.
Yeah.
But
And
interestingly enough, I mean, your brother, he became an educator as well, didn't he?
yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he taught music for a number of years, probably 10 plus years. So, yeah. So teaching is connected, and my wife also taught for
Oh,
about
that's
5 or 6
right.
years. Yeah.
Very, very cool.
So education has always been really close to the family, especially as I became an adult.
Love it.
Yeah.
So
And
Mr.
then
Ellickson.
Mr. Ellickson.
Okay.
Second, in high school, I had a math teacher who taught a couple math courses I took. His name was Mr. Schmidt. And a couple things that come from the journey from him, his attention to detail, and he instilled in me a love. I already had it a little bit with the love of numbers and statistics, more
Okay.
on the sports side, but I really started to enjoy like using formulas and figuring out problems, and he reinforced that. And maybe I didn't realize it as much as when I was in high school. Now I look back and I go, that kind of tells the story for why I enjoy doing what I'm doing now. And
That's
so
interesting.
he also was one that if you sat in his class and you weren't paying attention, I will remember this for the rest of my life. If you weren't paying attention, he would still use chalk on a chalkboard, and he'd turn around and he'd hit you with the chalk. So he was kind
The
of,
days of those educations.
yes.
I don't
Yeah.
think we can do that anymore.
No, pretty
That's
much not.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I had teachers that would do that with rubber bands. Rubber bands.
Yes.
Cut a lot of rubber bands to the face, which is unbelievable that happened, but it did. So Mr.
Yeah.
Schmidt was a chalk thrower. I love it.
Yep, chalk thrower. And then the final one was my senior year of college. I had a marketing 490 professor, Miss Forrestel. I think she's still alive. She's retired by now, but she was outstanding. I think the couple things that really stood out to me is encouraging everybody in class, regardless of whether you or not you're going to use what she was teaching us, that we all had something to offer. I think that was one of the main things that stood out, is just realizing, hey, we all bring something good to the table. And ours was in the form of, for the class, was a group project. Most people didn't want to do it. They're like, I want to do things on my own and that sort of stuff. The other thing is she really encouraged in me a love of and realizing how much I really enjoyed communicating and
Wow.
getting up in front of a group and telling a story. Because as a younger person, if I look back to middle school or even early high school, I was afraid of doing that.
Really?
And so by the time I got to my senior year in college, I had become more comfortable in who I was. And then having a professor like that at the end, especially, just launched me out in the world, regardless of what happened the first few years out of college. Really just showed me that I can be confident in who I was, that I can be a good communicator. And it doesn't, I think the way she boiled it down was, and I take this with me even in the work I do now, whoever you're speaking with is a person just like you are.
I love that.
And so when I have an opportunity to speak and present to executive leadership at work, it doesn't bug me. Like, there are people just like I am.
That's great.
And I think that brings the validity and the power and the ability to connect with the audience. I think that's the main thing that she showed me that really just, now that I see where I'm at, it makes sense where I'm at now. Like,
How do you think
having her
Mrs.
be a part of
Forrestal
that.
did that? Like, was it just by sheer, just this is what we're doing, and just like sheer kind of like systematic desensitization? You just have to keep
Yeah,
doing it. Okay, okay,
yeah, that was probably a big part of it because at certain points of the class, I mean, you're talking 10 weeks with the
yeah,
same group of people.
yeah,
And at that point, I think, I mean, it's smaller the later on in college you get, but yeah, 10 straight weeks, and we'd do periodic check-ins with their projects, and we'd actually have to pitch and present part of the project to the class throughout. So yes, it was kind of throwing you out in front of the lights and saying, hey, we know that not everybody is comfortable with this, but here you go. And at some point, I think that did more to prepare me for what would come in the world in
absolutely.
having to get a job and being face to face with other adults than a lot of other things I learned in college. So
Well, a lot of people don't even think, and this is my own educator experience coming forward because I always did public speaking, and with
hmm
that, you always forget about the fact that it's like even though it's a prerequisite for a lot of colleges and a lot of college curriculum, everyone has to do it. Like if you want some job in the future, you're gonna have to present yourself to them, whether it's an interpersonal or it's a panel interview or something like that. Very seldom is it just like you show up and they just put a badge and on your thing and say get to work. You've got to
yeah,
present the skills and the story, like you said. So
yeah,
that's really
yeah. So
fascinating.
I, yeah. So it's hard for me to say that one of those three is my favorite, but I'd say out of those three, I mean, I probably lean more toward Miss Forrestal. She probably made the most amount of impact on who I am now as a person and what I do in my career. So yeah,
And I like what you said too, is it wasn't just about the skills that she gave, even though it was, the curriculum of this is what you have to do and this is how you have to present, but that nugget of the people to whom you are talking are people just like you. So
yeah,
that's absolutely fantastic. My
yeah,
gosh, Jason, thank you so much. Thank you for
yeah,
sharing that, just the stories. And again, I never want people to have to say, well, out of those three, that one's my favorite. But I like how what you said and said, well, she really made the most impact because it
hmm
didn't just have an impact on you when you were a duck, right?
right,
It
right,
had an
exactly.
impact on you now, that you're using it day by day. And, unfortunately, I do have to say it every episode. If you're a teacher and you're watching this, and just know that those things that you're giving to your students, they make a lasting impact for sure. So, Jason,
Yeah.
thanks so much for sharing those stories.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jess. I've
Of course.
appreciated the way that you are able to connect something that's so vital to everybody's life and just share the good that comes out of it. Because, I mean, honestly, a lot of times you don't, especially for educators, they don't get to hear the good parts.
They don't.
And that's the sad thing, is they
It is.
invest so much of their lives in somebody else's, and
Oh,
they don't get to hear the best part. So,
well, guess what? You just found you're now the commercial for my next series there. So thank you, Jason, for that.
you're welcome. You're
How
welcome.
about social medias and plugs? Is there anything that do you want people to follow you on social medias if they do find you?
I mean, they
You don't
can
have to.
follow me on social media. I am on Instagram primarily at at Nation of Shafe, and so it's Schafer minus the R at the end. You'll see, like Jess was saying, barbecue pictures.
Yeah, get
I
ready.
have the other thing that kind of ties into my barbecue affinity is my love for coffee. I
Oh, I
started
didn't even
roasting.
see that.
Yeah, I started roasting coffee at home probably 11 years ago, and I would not ever go back. I think I've kind of stepped down that rabbit trail at the same time that the barbecue thing has happened. So,
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, now we have to have you back so we can do a whole thing on coffee.
I mean, yeah,
Oh my
love,
gosh.
love it.
Well, thank you again, man. I appreciate it. And for those of you that are listening to the podcast, I hope this encouraged you today. I hope that Jason's story was as inspiring for you as it was for me. And just thanks for listening. Thanks for watching on YouTube. Do all the subscriptions and all that kind of stuff that you know. And then of course leave a review for us on the Apple site or on Spotify. It does help us to get seen. And yeah, just thanks again for listening. And again, a special thanks to my guest today, Jason Schafer. Thank you for that amazing story about your favorite teachers, man. I really appreciate you being here.
I appreciate it, Jess. Thank you so much.
To everybody out there listening, be nice to somebody out there, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. Bye, everybody.